December the 16th of 2021, I talked about depression and what the symptoms are and things like that. Why did I talk about that? Well, I will explain that right after this. Welcome back to Just Justin. I am Justin, and I'll be explaining to you my experience with depression. Yes, I talked about the symptoms and the things that depression is back on the 16th of December of 2021, and I'm going to be talking about what I went through. It was the fall of 1988. I was in my Spanish class in high school, and I was sitting there back in the corner. It was on the teacher's right hand side, way in the back. I was a back row Joe person, and Rochelle was sitting next to me, and we were talking and stuff like that, and then we got in trouble for talking. It's not the first time. But after that, I was just sitting there, and I was looking at my wall, and I had a picture of my brother in there, and something just hit me. I really wasn't enjoying my time in school. I lost interest in that. I lost interest in that a long time ago. And I was not sleeping. I wasn't doing very well. So I got up, I grabbed my stuff, I got up and I left the class. Yeah, about 1:30 I left the class. And I walked across the street, and my aunt lived across the street from the high school. I walked over there, went into her house, and I lay there on the couch. No one was there. And I cried for like an hour. That was a little bit of an onset of the depression. I don't know where it came from or anything like that. I just sat there, and then I went back, and the football coach pulled me aside because we had football practice afterwards. The state game was on Friday. He pulled me aside and he was like asking me all sorts of questions. And he was like, "Don't practice today. Don't worry about it. You just go and relax. Don't suit up or anything like that. You just need to take a step back." And so I did that, and we went and played the next day, and we lost very bad to Alta. And then, things kind of got worse. My Spanish class was getting really super bad. In March, the end of March, 1st of April of 1989, I found myself sitting in the principal's office with my parents. And we're sitting there talking to the principal, and I needed to get out of that Spanish class. If I didn't get out of that Spanish class, I didn't know what was going to happen. I was failing out of that class. I would probably have to go to summer school. And, I was getting depressed. So we found another Spanish class the same hour. And I transferred to that class with like a month left, maybe 2 months left. And I didn't know what the hell I was going to do because I needed to get a C out of that class. I walked in there. I had a lot of school friends, and I sat by some of them. And there was this girl I liked a lot. I had a huge crush on her, and she was in that class. And things went well. I was studying my butt off, had to prove something to myself, and the teacher didn't think I was going to pass the class because I had to start all over again. And in that little short of time, I passed the class. He thought I was cheating, but he looked at the tests around everyone sitting around me, and I got more answers correct than they did. So I wasn't cheating. So he just took out with the grain of salt, and he let me pass. Yeah, I was not cheating. So that summer, I thought things were going great. I started dating a girl. We became boyfriend, girlfriend. We hung out all the time. That was great because at the time, I had some friends that, well, would dog me all the time. We would plan things and I would show up and they wouldn't be there. And they're like, oh yeah, we forgot to call you. They did this to me all the time. Go figure. Okay. And so I, stepped back from that friend group and just hung out with my girlfriend. And then August came up and my girlfriend and I broke up. Because I was stupid, okay? I'll be the first to admit it. I was stupid. But that was about the time the fall sports were coming back in. Football was coming back in. Football practice was coming back in. And I was focused on that. I had, practice. It was Hell Week. I had practice 2 or 3 times a day for a week. And then I had practice every night at 3 o'clock. And then I had work, and it was just a nightmare. All this pressure was on me. In my head, it was all on me. School started, and I went to my marketing class, my first period of the day. And the girl that I had dated and broke up with, she sat in front of me in marketing. I walked in and I was like, hey, we're still friends. And we sat down. I said, can I sit behind you? And she's like, yeah, and we talked. We were friends. I just didn't know where I wanted to go in life. And then also in that marketing class, there was a girl over by the window that I started to like and had a huge crush on. Okay, so homecoming comes up. I had a list of a few girls that I was going to ask out. The girl that I had a crush on my junior year, the one that I went to the Spanish class and she was in that class, she liked me. She had a crush on me, but I asked her out to homecoming and she said no. So that put my self-esteem and self-confidence just down the crapper. Then I was going to ask out the girl that I had a crush on in my marketing class. But if she said no, I would have to be in that class with her all year. And we were in the same parenting class for half the year. And I just couldn't take that. So I asked out a girl I was dating at the time. She went to another high school. And so I asked her out and we went to homecoming together. And as the months progressed, football got harder and harder. All right, I lost interest in playing football. The pleasure just was not there anymore. I didn't care. The depression was beginning to set in and it was beginning to surface. And I did everything I could to fight that. We had a parent-teacher conference. And my mom went to my math teacher. And he basically said, Justin is stupid. He needs to go back to a lesser math because he's just not getting the math that the class I was in Algebra 2. I was not getting what he was teaching. Yeah, I'll admit that. I wasn't getting what he was teaching because I knew smart people who was in that class were getting like D minuses. I was just not getting what he was teaching. And so my mom and my dad was back in the principal's office with me. And we sat down, we talked, and he goes, all right, so Justin, don't go to that math class until I get back to you. I don't care where you go. You can sit in my office if you want. You could go sit in the lounge. I don't care. You don't need to go back to that math class. But I said, but I still have him for 8th period. And he was like, oh, I'll take care of that. And so I didn't go back to the math class for a couple days. It was on B day, and so I didn't go back to it for a week. And I went to the 8th period, and the teacher didn't talk to me. Apparently the principal told him that if he failed me in my 8th period class that they'll be held to pay. Because he didn't fail me, and he didn't even talk to me, which was good. And so I went from 6th period math to another 6th period math class. I was talking to the teacher, and he goes, yeah, the principal came in, he talked to me, and we're just going to do the best we can. We're taking a test today. Yeah, perfect time to come into a class for the first time taking a test. And he said, don't worry about it. Just do the best you can, because I know that you are a few chapters behind, and we'll play it by ear. I walk into the class, and guess who's in that class? The girl that told me no to homecoming. The girl I had a major crush on my junior year. So I found a seat in the back row Joe. And I sit next to my friend, Tyler, and we handed the test out, and I had something to prove. I worked hard on that test, and I walked away that day with the highest score in the class. I knew math. Yeah, I hate math with a passion because of my 5th grade teacher and now my 12th grade math teacher, the first one I had. The second one I had, yeah, I learned math. Yeah, I even went and took calculus. I was starting to do trig, but I gave up on that and focused on other things in my life. But the depression was still there. It was beginning to be worse and worse. The feelings of self-worthless, guilty for not doing what I needed to do. I had no energy. I was tired as heck, always fatigued because I didn't sleep. That probably played a major factor in my depression. So as time went on that year, I was dating another girl. I had another girlfriend, but I still was crushing on this girl in my marketing class. I would talk to her every once in a while, but I couldn't talk to her more than that because my heart was beating. I was sweating. I was nervous because I really liked her. I was driving home, and I happened to pass by my friend, so I flipped around, and he missed her, and he was just sloughing the day away. And I was talking to him, and all of a sudden I heard this horn honk, and I turned around, and it's this girl I've been crushing on. She waved at me and things like that. And I didn't pick up the signs or anything like that because I was probably so focused on keeping my depression at bay, keeping it hidden. I didn't want her to look into my eyes and see the darkness of my soul because I was so depressed. I was feeling worthless. I was stupid. I had all these feelings in me. My family life, my home life, I wasn't getting along with my parents very well because I was tired. I was always tired, and the depression was taking over. I put a good front on. I put a really good front on, and I kept it at bay. I kept it down as low as I could. But I think it was around February, my birthday. I just turned 18. And I was sitting there after work one time. I drove, and then I just parked the car. And I sat there and I thought, what can I do to get rid of this depression? And it came to me. I could end it all and the depression would go away. So I sat there and I thought about it, and I came up with a plan. And I went home, business as usual, tried to sleep, didn't sleep until like 3, got up at 6:30ish, went to school, went to class, then I went to work. And then that night, my plan was going to be fulfilled. Got in my car, started driving to where it was going to go down. And something happened. And I found myself knocking on my aunt's door about 10:30. She answered it, and she could tell there was something wrong. And she goes, "Why don't you come on in? We're watching TV. You can come sit down with us and watch it." And I was like, "No, I don't want to bug you." And she was like, "No, come on in." So I went in, we sat down on the couch, and they were watching Star Trek, The Next Generation. So I sat and watched it with them. It was at 10 o'clock at night on Fox 13, and I just sat there and watched it. About 11:15-ish, I left the house and I went home. And I went down to my room and I sat there and I thought about what was going on. What almost happened that night. So, all the symptoms of depression. I was feeling sad. I was in a depressed mood all year long. I had lost interest in playing football, something I loved playing, but I hated playing my senior year. I had no pleasure in external activities. I stopped hanging out with some of my friends. I focused on work, and that's all I did. My appetite didn't change, but my weight was starting to increase. I put like 10 pounds on. I had trouble sleeping. I had a loss of energy. I had an increase in fatigue. I was really super tired. And I didn't really do much physical activity anymore. I had my hands. I would always wring my hands. I would walk around at work. I always had to be busy. And I was feeling worthless. Yeah, I did some things that I wasn't too proud of, too happy. And I was feeling guilty about that. And that depression, I was keeping at bay as much as I could. And I had difficult thinking, on concentrating and making decisions. Like, I had difficult thinking on doing tests. Like my marketing class. No matter how hard I studied and I couldn't think about the test. Yeah, I did good on my Spanish test and my math test because I had to prove something to myself. I had to prove something to the teachers that told me I would be stupid, that I could do it. But I didn't have to prove anything to anywhere else. And I had thoughts of death and suicide. This video's long, and I do apologize for that. But I was going to split it up in 2 different videos, but I thought just one video would be fine. So I apologize for the length of the video. Depression is a serious thing. I almost took my life because of it. There was one day at school where I was going to be on time to marketing. I was late maybe once or 5 or 6 times a month. I was late all the time because I didn't want to come to school. I lost interest in that. But I was walking towards my marketing class. I was going to be on time. And the teacher that told my mom that I was stupid, and the teacher that I transferred out of, the math teacher, he walks by and he was like, "Hey, Justin." And I was getting a drink. And I said, "You're an asshole," right to his face. And I opened that door up and I walked in. I was expecting him to come into my classroom, grab me, and drag me to the principal's office. But he didn't. And that was a turning point in my thinking. If I could confront something that made me depressed, that I could do something different. And that was a good thing. Because even though the depression was still there, I had pushed it back down and I was starting to be happy. Senior year is supposed to be the best year of your high school years, right? Because you're graduating, you're moving on, you're everything like that. But it was a living hell for me. My depression, I was keeping at bay as best I could. The thoughts of suicide was around for a long time until I decided to take action. If I didn't have that depression and that self-worthlessness, if my self-esteem was intact and my self-confidence, maybe I could have been happier. That is one of my experiences with depression. I have a lot more. Okay, depression just doesn't come and go. Oh, I'm going to be depressed this year. Oh, I'm going to be happy this year. It doesn't work that way. You will always be depressed. I will always be depressed, no matter what. And it's most likely because of my self-esteem issues, my self-confidence issues. And if I was more self-confident and I didn't have that depression, would I have asked that girl out in marketing? Yeah. Would she have said no? Don't know. I think she had a crush on me as well, but I'm not sure because I'd never put forth that effort. Because I didn't want her to say no. Then have to sit there in marketing class thinking what a loser I was. So that's it for this video. Tune in next Wednesday. I'm going to be talking more about depression. And so I apologize for the length of this video. I hope you guys have a good one. And if you're depressed, reach out to somebody and talk to them. Okay? Or you can even talk to me. I'm here to listen and help you out. And I want to see you in the next one. So I will see you later.